what is lawyer ethics? I mean, to me, as a normie, I would say it's a lawyer's lawyer. I mean, is that a pretty fair entry level description to what it means?
Yeah, I think that's actually right. What I do is a couple of things. There's discipline, so we have lawyers who are alleged to have done something wrong, but there's also the very practical, which is I'm on contract with a number of law firms around the state to help them avoid any problems. I do the same thing for many lawyers. And so lawyers' ethics oftentimes are things like, can I take a case because I have a conflict?
Right. I mean, a common theme is always risk management when it comes to law. And that's the reason why a lot of big companies have a whole slew of lawyers, because they want to figure out before it gets to court, is there an inherent risk that I'm going to get sued down the road?
Absolutely. And you know, for me, that's the most fun part. You know, I enjoy doing the discipline because mostly I've had really pretty good clients and people who, in most cases, have not done anything, were falsely accused, or some who were certainly accused of more than a mistake that they made. But the real interesting and helpful stuff is when you can go into a law firm and help them set up a bunch of systems so that they're just practicing better, so that clients get better services, so that lawyers are not, you know, in the press for doing terrible things. And I've been fortunate to have picked up a lot of really good, solid law firms that want to do the right thing. So, you know, the notion of lawyer's ethics is kind of multifaceted.
Where do lawyer ethics come from? This seems like a super, like you probably spend an entire semester delving into that. But when it comes to modern American lawyers' ethics, I mean, where is there something that it stems from directly?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, it used to be that there was nothing that was codified, and they used to call it sort of a gentleman's agreement. You know, the old style almost, and it wasn't that long ago, because when I was in law school, you know, my professors would talk about having two clients who are at loggerheads and bringing them into the room and, you know, beating some sense into them with his terms. You know, in the modern world, you couldn't do that because you have such dramatic conflicts. But in the 1970s, which is when I was in law school, was the Watergate era, and all these lawyers were dragged before Congress.
Yeah, a lot of lawyers are involved with that.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know, I got fascinated with it because of Watergate. I spent a lot of the summer watching the hearings, and the American Bar Association put out what they called a Code of Professional Responsibility, which was these kind of broad aspirational guidelines. And people were then disciplined for violating those rules, but the rules were really vague. Like one of them was to avoid the appearance of impropriety. I mean, I still don't know what that means.
It's very, very vague.
Yeah. And so in the 80s, I think around in 1983, the ABA went back and put up a set of disciplinary rules that are black letter rules. You know, if you violate them, then you get disciplined. If you don't, you're not. And so that's been the genesis and the beginning of all of the sort of modern legal ethics.
The big thing in recent memory when it comes to lawyer ethics are the likes of Donald Trump and his attorneys like Cohen and such. I mean, are they just like poster children for what not to do to your law students?
Yeah, they are. You know, many of their lawyers, and you know, in fairness, you know, Michael Avenatti, the guy who
an even more recent example.
Yeah, I mean, he's under a criminal charge now for extortion.
Yeah,
and so there are a lot of lawyers out there that violate all kinds of norms. You know, one of the nice things about being in New Hampshire, and I first started practicing in Boston, where I went to law school. And when I got up here, I was just amazed that there is so much less of those kind of issues. You know, if you go search the Attorney Discipline Office site, you'll see that there aren't that many founded cases of discipline. And when there's real serious harm, like people taking money, they're in the Supreme Court quickly and getting a suspension and seizing everything. And New Hampshire has, as many states do, a client protection fund. So every year, when we license ourselves, we pay money into a fund. And so if a lawyer stole some money from you, then you would hopefully get it. You know, there's a fixed amount in it, but you'd hopefully get all or most of it back from that fund. So I think they're trying, but you know, it's amazing. There's a fellow in California named I think Giraldi, who was a huge tort lawyer and just stealing untold millions and millions of dollars from large settlements. Those folks are out there, you know, and they deserve to be popped. They're not my clients. I wouldn't take one of those. I'm not interested.